Welcome to Women Igniting Change, the place to be for women leaders and decision makers who are passionate about changing the world and determined to act. I'm your host, Robbin, former corporate executive, global speaker, and founder and CEO of Women Igniting Change. Let's dive in. Hey, change makers. Welcome back to the Women Igniting Change podcast. I'm so thrilled that you're back with us today. And if you're new to us, welcome. So thrilled that you are here as well. So I've got a great topic lined up for you today. But before I dive into that, I just want to say thank you. So this podcast has been live for 8 weeks, so 2 months. And in that time, thanks to you listening and sharing this with your colleagues and your friends, we are now being listened to in 11 countries around the world and have over 1,000 downloads to date. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so glad that this is resonating with you and that you're finding value in the content and the interviews that we're bringing to you. And we look forward to doing that for months and months and years to come. All right, so let's dive into today's topic. Today, I want to talk to you about living your impact and how to merge activism with your personal brand. But first, let's dive up to more of the corporate level. So when I say brand activism, what does that actually mean? So brand activism is when a brand takes a stand to move some type of social change forward. And this is typically driven by justice or a fundamental concern around one of the multitude of issues that we as a globe currently face. And you know several companies that do this really, really well. One of them is Patagonia. So Patagonia, the outdoor clothing brand based here in the United States, they take a huge stand around climate justice. They take a huge stand around trying to save the environment. They contribute 1% of their profits to organizations that are trying to do both of those things. And recently, the owner of Patagonia sold the company to a trust that supports the environment, ensuring that the legacy and sustainability of that brand will live on through the values that it espouses. So that's one example. Another example is Ben & Jerry's, the ice cream brand. So several years ago, I was taking a vacation in Vermont here in the United States where Ben & Jerry's headquarters is located. And as you walk into the headquarters, you can literally see their brand activism on the walls. So one of the topics that they take a huge stand around is voting rights here in the United States. And as you walk into the headquarters of Ben & Jerry's on the left-hand side, there's this beautifully painted mural that outlines their stance on voting rights here in the U.S. So you're waiting in line to sample their product, and their values and their brand activism is literally on the wall. So that's one example for Ben & Jerry's. Another one for Ben & Jerry's specifically, back in 2020 here in the United States when George Floyd was murdered, they took a spot of their website and laid out a 4-step process for how to dismantle white supremacy. That is taking a massive stand and saying, here's what our values are, and here's what we stand for. And if you align with us and our values, you're welcome to have our products. And if you don't, they're okay with that too. They're fine with that. But they're not afraid to put their brand out there and say, here's who we are, here's what we believe, here's what we stand for. Another company that does this really well is P&G, Procter Gamble. Several years ago, they had a campaign called Like a Girl. So as women, we've all heard this, right? This stereotype, oh, you throw like a girl. And it's taken as an insult. It's meant as an insult. So that campaign was all about dismantling that stereotype. They've also put a campaign out called We See Equal as a way to elevate gender equality. And they're not afraid to tackle topics on the men's platforms as well. So Gillette has put out a couple of what are perceived as controversial, but really powerful ads as well. One was called the Best Men Can Be campaign several years ago, and that was all around taking on toxic masculinity. So similar to Ben & Jerry's and Patagonia, P&G says, here's what we stand for. Here's who we are as a brand and a company. If you want to use our products and you align with us, that's great. And if you don't, that's okay too. You know, I think now more than ever, consumers are choosing to purchase from brands that align with their own personal values and what they believe. And they're really voting with their wallets for the type of businesses that they want to see in the world. It's just something that's really evolved over the last couple of years. So brand activism exists at the intersection of what people want, what the world needs, and what a brand uniquely offers. So those are some examples that I provided you from a corporate perspective. But here's the thing. You are a brand too. You personally are a brand. What you value, what you believe, how you position yourself out into the world, how you position yourself in the marketplace. And this is regardless of whether you are still inside an organization or whether you own your own business on the other side of the fence. What do you put out there on social media that matters deeply to you? If you're speaking, what topics do you speak about? If you write in any capacity, if you have your own blog or you contribute to other bodies of work, what do you write about? So I want to ask you a question. Is the social impact that you want to create a secret? And if it is, we really want to encourage you through this podcast to start putting that out there just a little bit more. Because for those of you that know me, or if you've listened to any of the prior episodes, you know that one of the things that I believe to my core is that every woman on this planet has some type of idea for social change or social impact that could revolutionize her community, her organization, her industry, or the world. We all have that. There's just a fear around putting that out there. But we are the key to solving some of the most pressing global challenges of our time. It is women. It is us. And it is getting ready to put ourselves out there in a larger way and take a stand for what matters for us. So how do you as an individual start putting that activism into your personal brand? So when someone hears your name, what type of social change or social impact do they associate you with? And if they don't yet, start putting yourself out there a little bit more so they start to make that correlation. So for example, when anyone hears my name, they immediately correlate my name with gender equality, women's rights, unleashing the contribution of women. Now, I've spent years cultivating that brand. One, because it's my company, Women Igniting Change, right? But it's also me as a person. And those are some of the things that I personally believe in. So even if I didn't have my business, I would still be putting that out there in some way because it's just who I am and what I take a stand for. So I want to give you some examples of how you can start putting your own activism and your own personal brand out there in a larger way around some type of social change that you believe in. And the first one is to start sharing what you believe, just a little bit past your comfort zones. Just start putting it out there a little bit stronger. Share your convictions and take a stand around what matters to you. And I want to give you a little bit of a caveat on this, because when you do start doing this, you are going to have people that completely align with what you have to say. And you're also going to have people that think you're nuts. And you are going to have people that you have detractors that are going to poke holes at what you are saying. So for those of you that are familiar with Brené Brown, she talks about this story, Man in the Arena. It's a poem by Teddy Roosevelt. And she incorporated into the beginning of how she built her company into what it is today. And it's all about being down in the arena. So picture yourself in the Colosseum in Rome, Italy. You are in the arena. You are getting marred by dust and blood and sweat because you're in there making things happen. And for those of you that are in the arena, the quote metaphorical arena with you, those are the people that you want to take advice from. Those are the people that you want to listen to, and opinions matter. The people that are up in the bleachers and the cheap seats, it's not that they don't matter as a person, but when they're throwing barbs at you for you putting it out there, what you believe, their opinion doesn't matter as much because they're also not doing it and they're not down in the arena with you. So just a little bit of a caveat to that, but really start sharing what you believe. So that's tip number one. Tip number two, start amplifying your voice around the issues that you care about. So if you don't already have a blog, create one. Make a blog around the social change or social impact that matters deeply to you and start putting writings out there. You could comment on other people's blogs. That's another way for you to amplify your voice. You could share relevant articles on your social media channels around the social changes that matter deeply to you. You could be a podcast guest. There are thousands of podcasts out there. Find ones that resonate around the topic that deeply matters to you and offer to be a guest and give your insight and your perspective around that social change. You could create videos on YouTube. You could do it on your phone. It would take you 30 seconds to put a YouTube video out there around something that deeply matters to you and getting your perspective out there. So that's tip number 2, is to amplify your voice in some way. Tip number 3, show how you're contributing to causes and things that you deeply care about. And this isn't just financial. Say you are a strategist, or say you have, this amazing ability around communication or marketing. How are you contributing your time, your talent, and your gifts to organizations that desperately need those type of services, but they deeply matter to you? So share how you're contributing to the issues that you care about in addition to financial. Tip number 4 is to create your own personal branding statement. And you can do this whether you own a business or even if you're still inside an organization. If you wanted to be known for something in the world around the social change that you want to create, what is a personal branding statement that you could create around that? And this could literally just be for you. It doesn't have to go anywhere. Something you could read every morning to ground yourself in the truth of who you are and the change that you know you are meant to create in the world. So my personal branding statement is, I unleash the untapped potential and contributions of women around the world. That's my personal branding statement. But what is that for you? Take some time and really noodle on that on a walk and think through, if you wanted to be known for something, some type of social change and social impact that you're putting out into the world, what does that personal branding statement look like for you? So that's tip number 4, is to create a personal branding statement. Tip number 5 is to share your story, because more often than not, your desire around social change and the social issues that matter deeply to you stems from personal lived experience. So when I was in corporate America, and you've heard me say this many times if you know me, it felt like the higher I climbed that corporate ladder, the more of me I lost. And when I started Women Igniting Change, it was for a deep desire to go back in and serve the woman I used to be. That was where it started. And then my first trip to Rwanda back in 2017, that expanded the work that we do in the world around social change and around social impact. So sharing your story and how you even came to care about these issues that matter deeply to you, and start putting that out on social media as well. Tip number 6, determine what story you're telling on social media. So if someone randomly, let's say I went to your social channels and I did a social media audit, what would I see? And what would I identify as the story that you're sharing out there as to who you are, what you believe, and the social change that you're meant to create? So do your own social media audit. And what is the story that you're seeing that you're telling out there into the world around the social change that you want to create? Tip number 7 is to truly live your brand, because wherever you go, there you are. So if you have clothing in some capacity, so if you own your own business like I do, I have t-shirts, I have jackets, I have long sleeve polos, like you name it. I've got Women Igniting Change branded everywhere. It's even on my phone. So if you have your own business, live your brand, get your name out there. If you're still inside an organization, find t-shirts or some type of clothing or decorating your office around social impact issues that matter deeply to you. So live your brand so people can see who you are and what you represent. So that's tip number 7. There are so many amazing benefits to living your impact, putting your personal brand out there. And probably the biggest is it really does give you a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in your life, which is pretty amazing. So when you align what's here in your heart with putting it out there into the world, it really does ground you in the truth of who you are and give you a much deeper sense of meaning and purpose. Another thing it does is it really differentiates you out in the world, because you've had the courage to put your unique perspective out there around a social issue or a social cause that matters deeply to you. And it really does distinguish you out in the marketplace. Another benefit is that it provides an opportunity for you to educate people around a cause that deeply matters to you that they may know nothing about. So it either may be something that they're just not familiar with or something they've never heard of. And by you sharing a relevant article, or you sharing a piece of your story and lived experience, or sharing your insight or expertise around this given social change, it allows you an opportunity to educate the public around this cause that matters deeply to you. And another benefit is that it allows you the opportunity to ask for support in a multitude of ways. So you could ask for, you need a sounding board around an idea that you have around this social topic, or you could be looking for a collaborative partner, or you could be helping a nonprofit achieve a goal that they're looking for. So it allows you an opportunity to share how people can support you around what matters deeply to you. So those are some of the benefits. So we will have links to some of the campaigns that I mentioned, P&G, etc., in the show notes, and we will see you back here next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to Women Igniting Change. I know creating change matters to you. If you enjoy what we talk about on the show, please take one action today and share it with someone who could benefit from listening. Until next time, keep standing up and speaking out for what matters.